Hi and welcome back. In this video, we're going to learn about shortcuts in Adobe Photoshop. Now, there are lots and lots of shortcuts in Photoshop, and of course, we won't cover all of them, but we're going to cover some really important ones, okay? Now, I have gone ahead and opened a new file or created a new project. So this is just a normal A4 file, okay? So you can go ahead and create yours so that we start looking at the shortcuts. Okay, so the first set of shortcuts I would like us to look at are tools-based shortcuts. So they are related to our tools. Okay, so we're going to start from simple to complex. Okay, we're going to start by learning how to select some of our important tools, like the move tool. So for the move tool and also the artboard tool, we have the shortcut V. Okay, so if you're say on the crop tool and you hit V, you're going to jump into the move tool. Okay, and then for the brush tool, we have B. Okay, to select the brush tool, let's say you are in this tool and you want to select the brush tool, you can hit B on your keyboard and you're going to go ahead and select the brush tool. Click and hold, you're going to see that all these other tools also have B as their shortcut. Okay, so that's the pencil tool, the color replace tool, the mixer brush tool, all of them have B as their shortcut. And we're going to learn also how to select all of these other ones, even as they all have B as their shortcut. Okay, so there's a way to actually select each one. So we're going to look at that also. So the next one is the crop tool, which is C. So if I hit C on my keyboard, I'm going to select the crop tool. And of course, you know what the crop tool is used for by now, because I presume you have some knowledge on Photoshop. And of course, this course is a continuation of the fundamental course. So it means if you're coming from there, you definitely know how to use the crop tool. Now, the shortcut is C, and we can see that all the other tools under this crop tool have C as their shortcut. So that's the perspective crop tool, the slice tool, the slice select tool. Okay, so all of them have C as their shortcut. And then we now are going to look at the next shortcut, which is the eraser tool. Okay, the eraser tool. Now that is E on your keyboard. So if you hit E on your keyboard, you're going to select the eraser tool. And we can see that all of the tools under it have E as their shortcut. So that's the background eraser tool and the magic eraser tool. Okay, so sorry I'm speaking a bit too fast. That's because we have a lot of shortcuts to cover. So E on your keyboard for the eraser tool. The next shortcut is P on your keyboard, which will help you select the pen tool. So if you click and hold, you're going to see that all of the tools here have P as their shortcut. That's the freeform pen tool, then the curvature pen tool. And we actually learned how to use this in the fundamental course. So you just hit P on your keyboard and you come to the pen tool. And then the next one is the text tool, and all you need to do is you hit T on your keyboard. Okay, so all of the tools under this tool have T as their shortcuts, as you can see here. The next is the eyedropper tool, which is I. So if you hit I on your keyboard, you're going to select the eyedropper tool. And you all know what you use the eyedropper tool for, okay? And if you don't know how to use the eyedropper tool, kindly go and enroll in the fundamental course, okay? So that's for the eyedropper tool. That's I on your keyboard. Now we're going to learn how to switch between tools. You get, so like for the move tool, we have the move tool here and also the artboard tool. So how do we switch between these tools? There's actually something or a setting that's related to this. Okay, so I'm just going to go to my preferences. So Control K or Command K on your Mac will get you your preferences. And we actually looked at this option in the last video, but I didn't explain it. So this is on the tools. So if you go on the tools, you're going to see this option. Use Shift key for tool switch. Okay, so if you have this option on, you are then going to be able to use this method to switch between the tools you get. So if I select my move tool, that's V, all I need to do is to hold down Shift and hit V to select the one under it. That's the artboard tool. Okay, so Shift V, Shift V, Shift V. It's going to keep going over the tools here. Okay, so that's how to select multiple tools, and this works with all other tools also. So if you come to the brush tool and you want to select all these other ones, the pencil tool, all you need to do is to hit Shift B. You're going to select the pencil tool, then Shift B, and then you're going to select the next one, which is the color replacement tool, and also Shift B to select the next one, which is the mixer brush tool. Okay, so all you need to do is to shift B and then you select the next tool after it. Okay, so shift B to go back to my brush tool. So same also with the shape tools. Okay, so we have the rectangle tool, which has the shortcut U. So if you hit U, you go to the rectangle tool. If you hit shift U, you're going to go to the ellipse tool, shift U to the triangle tool or to the polygon tool, shift U to the polygon tool. Actually, this is the triangle tool. The triangle tool, polygon tool, the line tool, and then the custom shape tool, all by hitting shift U. Okay, so shift U, shift U, shift U, shift U, shift U. Okay, so that's basically it. Shift U is all we do. Perfect. So now we've covered all of these tools. Now we're going to cover the next shortcut, which will help us go over our blending modes. Okay, so for this, I'm just going to go ahead and open my folder. So come to the folder for the third module. That's the folder titled 03 Workflow and Shortcuts. That's this folder right here. Just come in and open all these files. Okay, so select all these files, 3 images and 1 Photoshop file. So I'll just go ahead and open these files. Perfect. So these are the files we'll be using to learn about our shortcuts. Now the next shortcut is related to our blending modes, and you definitely should know about blending modes by now. So let's just come to this file here and come here and just click here and go to the gradient. So create a gradient fill. Okay, that's a gradient solid fill. So just come and choose any gradient, really any gradient. Okay, just choose any gradient will work. Hit OK and OK. Now we want to create a quick blend between our gradient fill layer and our background layer. Okay, now all you need to do is to select your gradient fill layer and then hit shift and then hit your plus or minus key on your keyboard. So shift and plus or minus. So as you can see, I'm kind of going down the list. When I hit plus, I'm going to start going up the list. Okay, so shift plus or shift minus on your keyboard will basically go over the blend modes. So that's how to go around your blend modes using your keyboard. So I'm just going to delete this guy. Yes, delete. And now the next shortcut we're going to look at is related to our clone stamp tool. Okay, so go ahead and select your clone stamp tool, which is this guy here. Sorry, this guy here. So this is the clone stamp tool, and we all know what this tool does, right? It clones our subject or our target. You get. So first of all, you have to create a target. So I'm just adjusting the brush size, making it bigger. So first of all, you have to select the target. So that's holding down Alt and clicking on your target. So click on this target. Now we can see that I've copied our target. That's the girl in our brush. Okay, so she's basically in our brush, and we can paint her wherever we want. We get, or we can paint a copy of our subject or of our target wherever we want. Okay, so I'm just going to Ctrl Z. Now this is fairly basic. The next thing I want you to do is just hold down Shift and then Alt and then your arrow key right and left. Just hold down Shift and Alt and then your arrow key right and left. So we use this shortcut to kind of offset our sample source. Okay, so we use this shortcut to offset our sample source. So as I hit the right or the left arrow key, we can see that our sample source is going to the left side. So we're offsetting our sample source to the left side, and same also when I hit my right arrow key, we are offsetting our sample source to the right hand side. Okay, so that's how to offset your sample source. Now we can also hold down Alt and Shift. That's of course Option and Shift on your Mac. Okay, so Alt and Shift is for your PC. Sorry, I'm using the PC, so I tend to forget that we have people who use the Mac also. So just Alt and Shift on your PC or Option and Shift on your Mac. And then you can use the greater than or less than key on your keyboard to kind of rotate your sample source. Okay, so you use that to rotate your sample source. And as I hit the less than, arrow, we can see how my sample source is basically rotating. Okay, so if you're okay with the rotation, you can just come and click and then paint your sample source. You get. So let's go ahead and sample another one. So let's sample, then come here, and this time let's just rotate it the other side like this. Okay, so hold down Alt, hold down Shift, and then the greater than key on your keyboard, and then just click to place your subject. Okay, now we can hold down Alt again and then click. Now we're going to look at the next shortcut, which is used to scale our sample source. So all you need to do is hold down Alt and Shift, then your square bracket. So your right square bracket or your close square bracket will basically increase your sample source. You get. So just like this, you can see that our subject is scaling up. So that's how to scale your sample source, and then you do the opposite. You do the opposite, that's hitting the open square bracket while holding down your Alt and your Shift, or your Option and your Shift on your Mac to scale down your subject. Okay, perfect. And in order to reset our settings, we can just go ahead and come to Windows and go to Clone Source. So click on Clone Source, and you see this reset button here. You can just click on it and our settings will be reset. Yeah, so that's how to manipulate our clone stamp tool. Perfect. Now the next shortcut we're going to be looking at is related to the opacity of our layers. Now let's just create a new layer here. So create a new layer, then come and take your brush tool and do some little scribbles on it. So I'm just going to select a very solid color here, then maybe make the brush size bigger, then do just a little scribble, and see that possibly my brush preset is not the one I should be using. So let me just take this guy here, make the hardness this much, and then brush. So I don't know why it's giving me this look. Okay, I don't know why it's giving me this look. It's probably the brush preset. So I'm just going to go to a different file. Let me come here and see. It's giving me the same thing. Okay, it's giving me the same thing. So I don't really know why it's painting like this. Keyboard, we're not going to waste time trying to find out. So I'm just going to go back and use other layer types. So I'm just going to create a shape instead. Now, what I want to show you is a shortcut related to the opacity. Okay, so let's say we want to reduce the opacity of our shape layer. All we need to do is to hit V and then select a number from 1 to 0. So 1 will give you a 10% opacity, 2 will give you 20% opacity, 4 will give you 40%, 7 will give you 70%. And apart from hitting single numbers, you can actually hit double digits. So let's say 44 to give us 44% opacity. Okay, so all you need to do is select your layer. Select your layer and then hit V and then just give it an opacity. So we see that we now have an opacity of 55. So we hit V and then give it 77. Okay, 99. So that's how to basically adjust your opacity. Okay, so the next shortcut is related to selecting the bright pixels or the dark pixels of our color. Okay, so let's just go to this image. Yeah, this one has a lot of bright pixels. So in order to select just the bright pixels of our image, all we need to do is Ctrl-Alt-2. We're going to select the bright pixels of our image. Okay, we can see that Photoshop has selected only the bright pixels of our image, leaving out the dark pixels. Okay, so it means we can say, for example, do Ctrl-L for our levels and then just come and edit or add some contrast to our bright pixels. Okay, so we can see that our adjustment is basically just affecting our bright pixels. So we can also do same for the dark pixels of our image. All we need to do is hit Ctrl and then Shift and then I, okay, or Command Shift I on your Mac. So if you do that, it's going to basically invert our selection. So now we're selecting the dark pixels of our image, and we can just do Control L for levels and then just adjust the dark pixels. Now we see that only the dark pixels of our image have been affected by our adjustments. Okay, so that's basically how to select your bright pixels and your dark pixels in Adobe Photoshop using shortcuts. Perfect. Okay, now the next shortcut is related to this image, okay, this file. So this Photoshop file. Now this shortcut allows us to fill our layer with our foreground color or our background color. Okay, so if we want to fill the background image with our foreground color, which is red, all we need to do is to hold down Alt and then backspace on our keyboard, or hold down Option and then delete on our Mac. Okay, so Alt backspace on your keyboard and Option delete on your Mac. That's to fill in your layer with your foreground color. Then to fill in your layer with your background color, all you need to do is, instead of Alt, you need to do is just hold down Control and then backspace, or Command on your Mac and then delete. So that will fill in your layer with your background color. Now, apart from filling the entire layer, you can actually fill the non-transparent pixels only. Now that's where this image comes in handy. Okay, so because this image has transparent pixels and also non-transparent pixels. Okay, so there is a way to fill only the opaque pixels in this case. Okay, so if you want to fill the opaque pixels only with your foreground color, all you need to do is to hold down Alt and then Shift and then backspace on your PC, and then Option and Shift and delete on your Mac. Once again, Alt Shift backspace on your PC and then Option Shift delete on your Mac. Get so that's for filling only the opaque pixels with your foreground color. And also for filling the opaque pixels only with your background color, all you need to do is to hold down Control, then Shift, and then delete on your PC, or Command delete, or rather Command Shift delete on your Mac. So Control Shift backspace on your PC, or Command Shift delete on your Mac. Okay, so that's it for this particular shortcut. Now the next shortcut has to do with locking our transparent pixels. This shortcut comes in really handy also to people who really use the brush a lot. So I'm just going to demonstrate that. So we have this image, this car image with transparency. Okay, so let's say we are working on this layer and we only want to affect the pixels that are not transparent. So we can see that we've selected the layer and then we've selected our brush tool and we are now painting on our layer. But we see that we are painting all over our layer. Okay, so that's not what we want. What we actually want is we want to only affect our opaque pixels. So I'm just going to off the background so we see what we're doing very well, and I'll just zoom in to kind of get a closer look. So all we need to do is to hold down the / button, or just hit the / button. So hit it and it's going to lock our transparent pixels. Now when we paint, we can see that we're only painting over our opaque pixels. So we're only painting over our opaque pixels, not our transparent pixels. Okay, so I'm doing Ctrl Z to undo. Okay, so just hit the / button on your keyboard, both on your PC and on your Mac. Now this is also the button here for locking your transparent pixels. Okay, so this is also the button here. So I'm just going to hit Ctrl Z, Ctrl Z, Ctrl Z to undo this. Now, how does this come handy for people who use the brush, right? So let's assume we are in this file and then we want to create some painting with our brush. So I'm just created a new layer here and then select my brush tool and come here and just choose a preset. So let's choose this preset and just make this brush a bit bigger. Okay, so I'm just going to paint now. Now you see I'm painting on my new layer, right? So I'm painting using my foreground color on my new layer, and all I will now do is just hit the / button to lock my transparent pixels. Now what I want to do is I want to add some highlights and shadows to my paint strokes. Okay, just the strokes I just created. So all I would now do is just select my darker red and then just come and paint here. Now you can see that I'm adding shadows. Get and that's because I've been able to lock my transparent pixels. So you can see how handy this feature is. You can select out bright colors and then add some highlights. So this really comes very handy in digital painting characters, because in order to give your character depth, you really need to add shadows and highlights. Okay, so this is basically how to do it. You just have to lock your transparent pixels and then add your shadows and your highlights, and when you're done, just hit your / button to unlock your transparent pixels. Okay, so that's how to lock your transparent pixels in Photoshop. Now the next shortcut is to reduce or increase our brush size. Let me just reduce the size of this layer here. Now I'm just going to create a new layer and then take my brush tool B. Now in order to reduce my brush size, all I need to do is to hold on Ctrl Alt and right click and then drag to the right hand side, okay, and then drag to the left hand side to reduce the size of my of my brush. Okay, so hold down Alt and Ctrl, then right click and drag to the right or drag to the left. So that's Option and Command on your Mac, and then right click and drag to the right or to the left. That's to increase the size of your brush. You can do this and then do this. You can see that we're basically adjusting our brush size. Okay, and we can also do that for the hardness. I'm just going to select a different brush. Let's take this brush and see. Okay, that's a clone stamp brush. Let's take a really normal brush. So let's just take this brush. Perfect. Now I want to basically increase the size of my brush. Like I said before, hold down Ctrl Alt, right click and drag. Okay, so in order to increase or to reduce your hardness, your brush hardness, you have to just hold down Ctrl Alt and right click, and instead of dragging right to left, all you need to do is drag up or drag down. Okay, so drag up to increase the softness, and drag down to increase the hardness. Drag up to increase the softness, drag down to increase the hardness. So that's a Command and Option on your Mac, and then right click and then up to increase the hardness and down to increase the softness, right to increase the size and left to decrease the size. Okay, now we also have some other shortcuts that are related to our brush tool, which we can use to also increase or reduce our size. Now that's the left and right square bracket keys. So the left square bracket key for reducing the size of our brush, then the right one for increasing the size of our brush. We also have the one for the hardness, so you can hold down Shift and then left bracket key to kind of reduce the hardness, and then Shift and right bracket key to increase the hardness. Okay, so that's Shift, left bracket key to reduce the hardness, Shift right bracket key to increase the hardness. So basically these are the few brush shortcuts that are important in my opinion. So I'm just going to delete this layer, but it's too noisy, and maybe create a new layer. Perfect. Now for the next shortcut, I think we're going to use a different image for this. So let's see. Okay, so let's use this image. Okay, so let's use this image. Let's unlock our car layer. Now what we want to do is create a mask. Okay, so just select your layer here, then come here and click to create a mask. So we have a mask on our car layer. So it means we can select our mask and then come to a brush tool, and then just make sure we have black as our background color and start painting to erase parts of our car. Okay, you can see that our brush is too hard. We're going to reduce the size, or rather the hardness, and then just hit X to switch between our foreground color and our background color, and just paint back the parts I erased. Okay, so now this shortcut has to do with switching between our layer and our mask. Now we can see that our mask has been selected because this white outline is on our mask. So if we click on the thumbnail of our layer, we can see that the outline has moved to our layer. Okay, so there's the way to actually move from our layer to our mask and from our mask to our layer without needing to click. Okay, now the shortcut for this is Control on your keyboard and /. Okay, and then we can hold down Control and then instead of backward slash, we can just hit 2 to go back to our layer. Okay, so that's command on your Mac and then backward slash to go to your mask, and then command and 2 to go back to your layer. Okay, so command and backward slash, command and 2, control and backward slash on your PC, control and 2. That's to switch between our layer and our mask. Now the next shortcut usually comes handy when we are doing a selection. Okay, so let's assume we have a selection in this image. Okay, so let's assume we are kind of trying to select this image and see, let's say we actually selected the subject, that's the girl. So I'm just using my selection tool, that's this particular selection tool, to select my subject automatically. Okay, and yeah, our character has been selected, our subject has been selected. So this is the object selection tool. Okay, we learned about it in the fundamental course. So let's assume we took some time to make our selection, and then for some reason we were trying to do something, and then mistakenly we deselected our selection, and this selection really cost us a lot of time. You get, so we know that this is a really painful thing. Okay, because you will have to go back and select everything right from the scratch. Okay, but there's a shortcut to kind of help us with this, and that shortcut is Ctrl+Shift+D on your keyboard or Command+Shift+D on your Mac. Okay, so that shortcut will just help you reselect your last active selection. So let's assume we did the selection once again here, and see we were trying to do something or maybe add some more details. Okay, so let's say we had our selection here, and for some reason we had to add some more shapes and then do some more things to our file, and maybe in the process we now kind of deselected our selection, right? So all we need to do is to Ctrl+Shift+D or Command+Shift+D on your Mac to select back your last active selection. So that's that for this shortcut. And the next shortcut is going to help us take our image or our file back to where it was at the beginning. Okay, so let's assume we opened our file and did some changes and added some effects, and we just didn't like everything after all. Okay, so there's a way to kind of revert back to the initial state of our image. All you need to do is just hit F12 on your keyboard, and it's going to revert back to the initial. Okay, and that will also work for a saved file. So if you have a file that you had saved, and let's say after you saved, you now started adding some more stuff to the file, and you didn't like all the new things you added, right? And you want to just take it back to the state it was after you saved. So all you need to do is hit F12 on your keyboard or function 12 on your keyboard, and it's going to take it back to the last saved state. Okay, so that's it for this keyboard. And the next one is relating to our text. Okay, so let's assume we just select our text tool and then just write something. So let's use this default text and let's just scale it up. Let's assume we want to increase the kerning or reduce the kerning. Now what's the kerning? The kerning is basically the spacing between our characters. Okay, so that's the kerning. So let's assume we want to increase our kerning or reduce our kerning. So all we need to do is to hold down Alt and the arrow key on our keyboard. So on your PC, Alt and arrow key, on your Mac, the Option key and then the arrow key. So Alt and arrow key to increase your kerning, and then Command and arrow key on your Mac to increase your kerning or reduce your kerning. Okay, so that's basically it for this little shortcut. Now the next shortcut is related to our layer. So this is how to duplicate our layer. Okay, so this is a very simple shortcut, very popular one. So all you need to do is to hit Ctrl+J on your keyboard. So Ctrl+J on your keyboard, that's on your PC, or Command+J on your Mac to duplicate your layer. Okay, so Ctrl+J or Command+J to duplicate your layer. Okay, so the next shortcut relates to our brush tool. Okay, so let's go back to our brush tool. Let's go back to this file. Now I have this brush selected. Okay, this brush selected, And then now these are all default brushes in Photoshop. So I just want to paint on this layer. This empty layer we created before. So now I'm painting on my layer. Let's say I want to erase the strokes I've made, but I don't want to use the normal eraser. I just want to use the same brush I used, the same brush preset I used to erase or to draw the strokes. Now all I need to do is to hold down the tilde key on my keyboard while my brush is selected. Okay, so if I hold down the tilde key and then just paint, you'll see that my brush now suddenly turns into an eraser. Okay, so with the same brush preset, I am having an eraser. Okay, so I can now erase my strokes with the same brush preset. Okay, so the tilde key is the key on the top left corner on your keyboard below your escape key. Okay, so that's what we call the tilde key. Okay, so you can paint and then hit the tilde key and then just delete your strokes using your same brush. Okay, and if you do not have the tilde key on your keyboard, you can also do that by coming to the modes. So after you've drawn your brush strokes, you can just come to the modes and then select the clear blend option here, and then you can now erase your strokes with the same brush preset. Okay, so that's that for this shortcut. Now the next shortcut is related to our ruler tool. Okay, so if you hit Ctrl R, you're going to activate your ruler. Ctrl R will also take it back. Okay, so you can activate your ruler and deactivate your ruler. So your ruler will come with your selected unit, the units you selected in default. Okay, so that's what your ruler will come, or the unit you selected while creating your new file. Okay, so that's what you're going to get when you hit Ctrl R. So Ctrl R for your ruler, and then if you come to your ruler and just click and drag, you're going to be able to drag what we call guides. Okay, so click and drag. So you can click and drag to create a vertical one and click and drag to create a horizontal one. Okay, now there is a way we can do to actually turn the horizontal to vertical and vertical to horizontal. All you need to do is to hold down Alt on your keyboard and click, and you're turning the vertical one to the horizontal. So that's Option on your keyboard, click, or do the same thing to the vertical one to make it horizontal. Okay, so this is vertical. If we do Alt and click, we're making it horizontal. This is horizontal. If we do Alt and click, we're turning it into a vertical ruler guide. Okay, so that's how we use our rulers with shortcuts in Adobe Photoshop. Now the next shortcut has to do with our selection tools. Okay, so let's assume we want to make a selection. So I've just picked the rectangular marquee select tool. So I just click and drag my selection. Let's assume I want to move my selection while my selection is still active. Okay, so while I'm still trying to select, I want to move this. All I need to do is to hold down the backspace key on my keyboard and then move my selection to where I want it to be. So maybe I want it here. I can just release and then continue selecting. Okay, and then just Ctrl J maybe to duplicate my selection. Okay, or to cut out my selection. So that's how to move your selection while selecting. Now the next shortcut is also related to selections, and that's using our lasso tool. Okay, so our lasso tool is used for freely selecting, right? We all know about this from the fundamental course. So we kind of can freely select with our lasso tool. Okay, and our polygonal lasso tool can be used to kind of select while defining straight lines, right? Perfect. So that's the difference between our lasso tool and our polygonal lasso tool. But there are instances where we select using our lasso tool and then we kind of want to switch to our polygonal lasso tool. So how do we do that? All we need to do is to hold down Alt on our keyboard and then release our mouse, and now it has turned into a polygonal lasso tool. Now we can, while holding down Alt, select with straight lines. You get? So that's the same thing as your Option key on your Mac. And then if we want to switch back to our lasso tool, all we need to do is to just click, then release our Alt key, and you're back to our lasso tool. Okay, so that's basically how to do that in Adobe Photoshop. Now we are coming to the very last shortcuts because we've covered a lot, really. We've covered a lot. Now, the next shortcut has to do with closing all open files except the one we are in. Okay, so we want to close all other files. So all of these ones that are open, we want to close them and just have only this one open. So how do we do that? We can do that by hitting Control and then Alt and then P. Okay, so you can see that it's asking us to save. We don't want to save anyone. So Control, Alt and P on your PC. So that's Command, Option and P on your Mac. Okay, so Control, Alt and P on your PC, then Command, Alt, or rather Command, Option and P on your Mac. Okay, so I keep confusing the Mac keyboard keys. Okay, just pardon me for that. Yeah, so that's how to close all of the files except the one that is active. Now our last shortcuts will relate to our layers. So let's assume we have multiple layers. So let's assume we have a shape layer with a maroon color, and we even have another text layer. Okay, with say a different color than this. So these are our layers. So we can see that we have quite a number of layers. Now our shortcuts will teach us how to kind of move our layer up or down our layer stack. Okay, so right now I've selected my subject, that's the layer 1, and I kind of want to move my layer up the layer stack. Okay, so how do I move my layer up or down the layer stack? All I need to do is hold down Control or Command on my Mac and then just hit my bracket keys. So my closed square bracket key will kind of move it up, and then my open square bracket key will move it down. So you have to hold down Control on your PC and Command on your Mac, and then your closed bracket key, or rather your right bracket key and your left bracket key to move down. So your left square bracket key to move down and your right square bracket key to move down while holding down Control on your PC or Command on your Mac. And there is a way to actually select the layer below our selected layer or the layers above our selected layer. So that's just by holding down Alt on your PC or Option on your Mac and then your square left bracket key to select the layer below, and then your right square bracket key to select your layer above. Okay, so that's basically how to select layers below or above your layer stack. And then finally, we want to learn how to kind of move layers to the topmost part of our layer stack. So let's assume we have this last layer selected, that layer 0 selected, and then we want to move our layer to the topmost part of our layer stack. Okay, so all we need to do is to hit Control and Shift and then our right square bracket key. So hit our right square bracket key and we have it on top, and if you want to take it back, all we need to do is to hit the left square bracket key and we'll have it at the absolute bottom. Okay, so that's Control, Shift, and then square bracket key, and that's Command, Shift, square bracket key on your Mac. Okay, so this has brought us to the end of our shortcuts. We can see that this was really a long video. It's a long video, but in my opinion, it's a very useful video because we're going to be using a lot of these shortcuts as we proceed with the course. Okay, and I have also attached a file with these shortcuts, a PDF file with these shortcuts in your projects folder, so you can kind of have it printed so that they can stick to your memory. Okay, because these are really important shortcuts. So that's it for this one, guys. See you in the next one. Bye.
Hey, so that's it for today's video. Hope you enjoyed it and learned something new. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up and leave a comment below. If you want to see more videos like this, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss any future uploads. We post new videos every week covering topics in the fields of graphic design and illustration, motion graphics and video, branding, and more. If you want to support us and get access to exclusive benefits such as the project files we use in our classes, a live chat with us, shoutouts, and more, consider becoming a patron on Patreon. You can join for as little as $3 a month, and the link to our Patreon page is in the description below. And if you want to take your learning to the next level, you can check out the complete course, of which this episode is a part of. And in the complete course, you get access to more than 10 hours of video lessons, project files and resources, class exercises, a Q&A section, a certificate of completion, and more. You can get the course for a special discount by using the link in the description below. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.